But his administration is working with Democratic leaders in the House and Senate on a strategy. Democrats plan to message any potential shutdown right before the holidays as a real blow to the economy and a block on much-needed disaster relief funding. The president ignored reporters shouting questions about the spending bill as he and the First Lady returned to the White House from Delaware last night. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre issued a statement yesterday with the president's position on what she called the Republicans' billionaire giveaway. She wrote in part this: President Biden supports the bipartisan agreement to keep the government open, help communities recovering from disasters, and lower costs, not this giveaway for billionaires that Republicans are proposing at the 11th hour. The White House believes Donald Trump ordered Republicans to shut down the government by tanking their bipartisan deal. And one former Biden campaign official went even further, telling NBC News that the president-elect was simply listening to Elon Musk. Quote, Trump seems like he needs to act on his dad's wishes, this advisor said, referring to Musk. Now, the Office of Management and Budget has been working with agencies since last week to make sure plans for an orderly shutdown are up to date. The deadline, midnight tonight. Chris Matthews, you're a veteran of Washington. You have been in and covered fights like this before, with one exception. We've never seen a fight like this before with a role played like the one right now by Elon Musk.
No, nothing like it. You've heard of a bull in a china shop. This guy's an elephant in a china shop. These negotiations between the House Democrats and the House Republicans are very fragile. There's a one-vote majority for the Republicans. The voters voted for that. They didn't, but they really voted to divide the House of Representatives effectively. And so that deal has to hold. You have to have Democrats aboard, because there's 30 or 40 Republicans who will not vote with their party, that will always vote against any extension of the debt ceiling or anything like that that includes more government spending. And so you need Democrats. It has to happen that way. And then along comes Musk with all his trillions of dollars, basically. Doesn't know anything about civics. The House is divided. You have to make a deal. He doesn't understand that. He has thrown this whole thing up in the air, and it's going to have probably a government shutdown tonight because of him personally.
So, Claire McCaskill, let's talk about this moment. First of all, let's not lose sight of the real implications if the government does shut down, people who will not be paid just before the holidays. We also should note about how this seems to be offering a preview of what's to come. And this talk of a unified Republican government, well, right now it seems like it's just a recipe for more chaos.
Yeah, well, first, Trump looked tiny yesterday. He looked like a very little man. And that has got to be bugging him big time. He not only had to follow Musk's lead, he then couldn't deliver votes at a time when he's trying to convince everyone there's a massive mandate for him and everybody wants to be his friend. And then, whoops, the brakes got put on. The other thing that's really interesting about this is, yes, there are real consequences to a government shutdown. Elon Musk doesn't understand that. He thinks the government shutdown is great. He thinks we should shut down the government entirely until Donald Trump becomes president. Obviously, real people are hurt. Millions of real people are hurt by that. But here's the train wreck that's coming. Here's the deal. You got 40 Republicans that have never voted, or around 40, that have never voted to extend the debt limit without spending cuts. And Trump is against spending cuts. Elon Musk thinks he's going to do all these spending cuts. Donald Trump doesn't want spending cuts. He blew the deficit up. He loves to spend money. He loves debt. He thinks debt is the way to success. He doesn't care about the debt. So he said last night, after his failure, do not do a deal without extending the debt limit all the way till after my next term. So there's going to be a train wreck here between Elon Musk, who thinks he's going to cut $2 trillion out of the deficit, out of the budget, and Donald Trump, who frankly could give a rat's you-know-what about cutting any spending.
And some of the spending, as was pointed out yesterday, that is being cut, really important even life-saving measures that, frankly, add up to a pittance in the grand scale of this spending deal. And our friend Sam Stein highlighted one of these with a new piece in The Bulwark, which details that one of the key items missing out of the Republican-crafted government legislation is funding for a cancer research program named after a 10-year-old Virginia girl who died from an inoperable brain tumor in 2013. It originally passed back in 2014 in a deal between congressional Republicans and then President Obama, a Democrat. But now it needs to be extended. Negotiators thought it would sail through, at least until Elon Musk went on an X rampage, tweeting that the bill was antithetical to conservative small government ambitions and threatening primaries of lawmakers who supported it. And Gene, Sam also yesterday highlighted on Twitter a research group that does work with helping children with cancer. Their tweet from a few days ago celebrating that they thought this vital funding was going to be included, and now suddenly it's out.
Yeah, I mean, it'll come as a surprise to Elon Musk, I guess, but this is what the government does. The government funds for research, not just cancer research, not just research on children's cancer, which obviously is vitally important and much needed, but all kinds of research, including basic research that doesn't have immediate application, but that leads to world-changing inventions and discoveries. That's a hugely important thing that our government does that seems to be directly in the crosshairs of Doge and Elon Musk and those who just frankly don't understand what our government is, much less what it does. And just a question for Chris Matthews, just because Chris, you have seen everything, you haven't seen this. Where do we go from here? The Republicans do not have a majority and will not have a majority on any spending bill, right? We should stop saying they have any sort of majority. And in fact, because of those 30 or 40 who will never vote for essentially increased spending. So how do we get past this? And does it take Donald Trump just to put his foot down? He seemed to try to do that yesterday. It didn't seem to work. What happens?
Well, I think one of the reasons this whole problem is happening this weekend, which is probably a government shutdown, is the message sent by Senate Republicans. They've got 53 seats in the Senate, a real majority. They can take a couple of losses. But, they've been eating everything this guy's thrown at them. All the dead fish he's given as nominees for department heads, and Pam Bondi and Bobby Kennedy Jr. Give me a break. HHS for Bobby Kennedy Jr. Are you kidding? We're talking about whether we're going to investigate Jonas Salk and the Salk vaccine for polio. And the greatest president of the 20th century was Franklin Roosevelt, who had polio. And Mitch McConnell, who had polio, and we're really talking about investigating Salk vaccine. Is that what we're doing here with the government? I think the Democrats have got to call they have to call them out right now or next week or so. Just say, look, are you getting rid of the Department of Education? Put up or shut up. I don't want to hear any more about it. Are you going to get rid of that department? Are you going to get rid of the Peace Corps? Tell us all of the things you're going to get rid of, and do it right now. Tell us what you're really going to do. What are you throwing out the window, throwing in the trash can? Tell us now. Because you got to call this guy, and you got to make him stand up for the nonsense he believes in. Trump is running against government. Let's let it face. He's not running against any part of the government. He's running against the government. He doesn't like the Federal Department of Justice because they're going to get him. He doesn't affect all the people that tried to tear down the Capitol on January 6th. He wants to free all those people, pardon them all. He's the bad guy. You got to understand, he's the bad guy. And he's going to cut what he doesn't like, and it could be anything that Musk thinks of. And Musk is an idiot. He may be a genius at making money, but we have got to kill this habit of thinking everybody knows how to make money with e-cars or whatever else, who somehow knows something about civics. He doesn't know anything about running the House of Representatives. He doesn't know anything about getting a majority vote. Howard Baker said you have to get to the third grade to be able to know how to win in the Senate. That's called 51 votes. You got to understand it. This clown, and he is a clown, knows nothing about government. He knows all about making money. And Bernie, one time, I actually agree with Bernie Sanders this time around. He's one of those millionaires and billionaires that stay out of our face. They make money, okay. But stop running the United States government. And that's what Musk is doing right now this weekend. The only theory I do have, and I love it, is that Trump is planning to destroy Elon Musk. He puts him out there in the beginning, late in the Biden administration, and he has him destroy himself because he can't work with the Congress. He can't put together a coalition. He can't get 218 votes, which is the name of the game in the House of Representatives. 218. I lived with that for 6 years with Tip O'Neill. If you don't get 218, you lose. Tell him that. And blame it all on Musk. And I think Trump would like to get rid of his new partner, his new dancing partner. Whoa. I don't think he really wants him around. He doesn't like him around. He's basically been saying already, when are you leaving? I think he means it.
I think that,
as he often does.
Watching the relationship between Trump and Musk unfold in the coming months will certainly be a fascinating spectator sport. But Claire McCaskill, let me go to you to revisit what the reporting that Sam brought to us this morning about this health research about pediatric cancer. Not only is that heartbreaking in itself, but that is new research. That's medical innovation. Well, that's something that would also be endangered by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Were he to be confirmed, because he wants a moratorium on new federal health research, as well as questioning what we all thought was settled medicine, like the polio vaccine.
Yeah, most Americans don't know what NIH is, the National Institute of Health. They don't understand how linked NIH is with the success of our economy. We are and remain the envy of the world in terms of medical research. We are a magnet to the best minds of the world to come to our institutes of higher education to do research. We've got amazing research universities all over this country, all funded in part by NIH. It has saved millions of lives. It has made the quality of life much better for millions and millions of people around the globe, and it fuels our economy. If these guys think bringing NIH to its knees, taking the legs out from the foundation of health research in this country is somehow going to help America be great again, they are really confused. And I would certainly urge any of them to take some time and go to some of the universities that are funded by NIH. Go to NIH, meet the people that are doing this research, find out how close they are to actually making real breakthroughs on cancer and heart disease and diabetes and all the things that cost our government trillions of dollars through our healthcare system. It is really stupid. And, Chris is right. He is a guy who names his children mathematical formulas and then thinks somehow he has the common sense to look after everyday Americans. Give me a break.
Yeah, we will be digging much, much more into this throughout the morning. Everyone here is going to stay put. Still ahead here on Morning Joe. We'll also turn to the new federal charges. The man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson is now facing. Plus, we'll get the latest on the upheaval in Syria from someone who knows the region as well as anyone, New York Times columnist Thomas Friedman. You're watching Morning Joe. We'll be right back.
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance, so I saved hundreds. With the money I saved, I thought I'd get a wax figure of myself. Cool, right? Look at the craftsmanship. I mean, I even got my nostrils right. It's just nice to know, years after I'm gone, this guy will be standing the test of time. He's melting. Oh, geez. No. Okay. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
you kind of have to take a step back. Getting some help would be a great relief.
From companions to helpers to caregivers, find all the senior care you need at care.com.
Welcome back. The suspect accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson is back in New York City this morning and facing new federal charges. NBC News correspondent Stephanie Gosk has the latest.
This morning, Luigi Mangione is back in New York City to face charges, landing in Manhattan on an NYPD helicopter Thursday after being extradited from Pennsylvania, where he was arrested. The 26-year-old accused of murdering United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was handcuffed, shackled, and escorted by heavily armed law enforcement.
Police Commissioner Tisch and I want to send a very clear and loud message that this act of terrorism is something that would not be tolerated in the city.
Mangione hit with 4 new federal charges, including stalking and a murder charge that could carry the death penalty. That's on top of 11 state criminal charges in New York, including murder in the first degree in the furtherance of terrorism. The newly unsealed federal complaint also revealing new details in the investigation, saying Mangione allegedly undertook extensive efforts to identify, place under surveillance, and track the victim's whereabouts in the time period leading up to the murder. According to prosecutors, in the hours before the shooting, on at least one occasion prior to the murder, the shooter was depicted using a cell phone. It does not specify who Mangione may have been talking to. The documents also detail more closely what was inside the notebook authorities say was recovered during Mangione's arrest at a Pennsylvania McDonald's last week. According to the complaint, Mangione had pages that express hostility towards the health insurance industry. And in an entry dated August 15th, he wrote, "The details are finally coming together," adding, "The target is insurance because it checks every box." Mangione's day Thursday began in a Pennsylvania courthouse, where he told a judge he was waiving his right to an extradition hearing. He was then immediately taken into custody by New York law enforcement, driven to the airport where a plane was waiting. Ultimately, a helicopter bringing him to Lower Manhattan, and his first appearance before a federal judge. He has not entered a plea in either the state or federal case.
We're going to respectfully decline to make any comment at this time.
That was NBC's Stephanie Gosk with that report. Coming up here on Morning Joe, our next guest says that Elon Musk and Taylor Swift can resolve U.S.-China relations. Columnist Thomas Friedman joins us to explain his new piece for the New York Times. Morning Joe, we'll be right back.
When you're the leader in disaster cleanup and restoration, how do you make like it never even happened happen? Let it rain, Randy! Woo! Yes! By being prepared for anything! Woo! Whatever comes your way, there's a pro for that.
Serve Pro, like it never even happened.
I used to leak urine when I coughed, laughed, or exercised. I couldn't even enjoy playing with my kids.
I leaked too. I just assumed it was normal.
Then we learned about Bulkamid, an FDA-approved non-drug solution for our condition.
It really works, and it lasts for years. It's been the best thing we've done for our families. Call 800-983-0000 to arrange an appointment with an expert physician to determine if Bulkamid is right for you. Results and experiences may vary.
You didn't get where you are playing it safe. You seek opportunities others don't. Your growing ambition needs a partner built for growth. With Markham, now a part of CBiz, discover new ways to accelerate growth. From insights that drive the bottom line to technology that powers enterprises. Your relentless ambition deserves a relentless team. Welcome to the new CBiz.
I was out on a delivery when I came across a snake, a rattler.
FedEx presents Tall Tales of True Deliveries.
There we were, driver versus reptile. Our battle was legendary. Wait a second. You don't own a pet snake, do you? Maybe now my friends will believe me.
If this is what we did for one delivery, see what we can do for your business. FedEx.
In this family, we ask for help when we need it, so we can help more children who really need it. Families never receive a bill from St. Jude for treatment, travel, housing, or food. But we can't help these kids without you. This holiday season, join our St. Jude family. We need you. Please donate now.
I've always been an active person, biking, running, but yoga, it's really special to me. It's definitely a big part of who I am, and I love the way it makes me feel. But there was a time not long ago when I felt I had to accept the idea of hanging up this old yoga mat. You see, I have symptomatic obstructive HCM, which left me so short of breath, I just couldn't get out here, making me feel like a bystander in my own life. So I talked to my cardiologist, and he told me about Camzyos. He said Camzyos works by targeting what's causing my obstructive HCM. So he prescribed it, and I'm so thankful he did.
Camzyos is used to treat adults with symptomatic obstructive HCM. Camzyos may improve your symptoms and your ability to be active. Camzyos may cause serious side effects, including heart failure that can lead to death, a risk that's increased if you develop a serious infection or irregular heartbeat or when taking certain other medicines. So do not stop, start, or change medicines or the dose without telling your healthcare provider. You must have echocardiograms before and during treatment. Seek help if you experience new or worsening symptoms of heart failure. Because of this risk, Camzyos is only available through a restricted program. Before taking Camzyos, tell your doctor about all of your medical conditions, including current or planned pregnancy.
With Camzyos reducing my symptoms, I've gone from sitting on the sidelines to being back in the game. My name is Stephanie, and this is my Camzyos moment. Call your cardiologist today and see if a Camzyos moment may be in your future, too.
It's really important to have really good gut health. With AG1, I don't feel bloated.
That was actually the first change I noticed. I immediately started feeling my gut being better.
I've definitely been as regular as could be.
I drink my AG1 and I have a good pelvis.
MSNBC Premium gives you early access and ad-free listening to Rachel Maddow's chart-topping series, MSNBC Original Podcasts, exclusive bonus content, and all of your favorite MSNBC shows now ad-free. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
A pretty shot of the White House this morning, decked out for the holidays, exactly 1 month until Inauguration Day. Earlier this week, China's foreign minister expressed a desire to work with the incoming Trump administration, saying he hoped the two countries would work together in a, quote, mutually beneficial manner to remove disruptions and overcome obstacles. The comments put a spotlight on what may be the most consequential diplomatic relationship of Trump's second term. But our next guest argues it's not just Trump and Xi who could figure prominently in the partnership between the two countries. Joining us now, foreign affairs columnist for the New York Times, Thomas Friedman. His new piece for the Times is titled How Elon Musk and Taylor Swift Can Resolve U.S.-China Relations. Let's dig in and read a little bit from it. Beijing and Washington will be much better off with a bargain, one that imposes a gradual increase in U.S. tariffs, while both of us do what we needed to do long ago. What is that? I call it the Elon Musk-Taylor Swift paradigm. America would use higher tariffs on China to buy time to lift up more Elon Musks, more homegrown manufacturers who can make big stuff so we can export more to the world and import less. And China would use the time to let in more Taylor Swifts, more opportunities for its youth to spend money on entertainment and consumer goods made abroad, but also to make more goods and offer more services that its own people want to buy. But if we don't use this time to respond to China the way we did to the Soviet Union's 1957 launch of Sputnik, the world's first artificial satellite, with our own comprehensive, scientific, innovative, and industrial push, we will be toast. Tom, I'm so glad to see you this morning, and I would admit I did a double take when I saw the two names mentioned in your headline and to the roles they could play, but elaborate further as to why you think this makes sense for both nations.
Well, first of all, John, great to be with you. Obviously, I'm using them as a metaphor. You know, the biggest thing I discovered on this trip to China, and I've been a regular visitor over the last 30 years, although obviously I missed the years of COVID, is that while we were sleeping, that is, while we both were isolated by COVID, and then we started to disengage with one another on top of it, China made a great leap forward in advanced manufacturing. China's gone from about 6% of global manufacturing in the early 2000s to almost half today. One country, John, almost half. And it's across a broad front. And so basically what I was arguing is that we need to get back to, if we're going to have tariffs on China, tariffs are just there to buy time. They have to buy time for something. They buy time for us to basically make our own great leap forward in advanced manufacturing again. We need more people like Elon Musk, not the Elon Musk you were talking about earlier in this hour. I agree with every word Chris Matthews said, but we need people who can make big stuff, bend metal, okay, satellites, internet systems, cars, and we don't have enough of those. Meanwhile, China, I said, if I were drawing a cartoon of China, it's a country where the upper body of Popeye is still eating spinach. That's its advanced export manufacturing side. But it's got stick legs because there's very little domestic consumption, in part because the whole economy is geared for exports and in part because the creative juices have not been unleashed there for domestic consumption. So they need more Taylor Swifts. They need more of their own creative talent. They need letting in more creative talent. So the young people can, girls just want to have fun. So do Chinese, and they're not getting those opportunities.
Tom, is this? I understand your argument, and I think it's a very clever one. But is this at all realistic? Number one, is the United States actually going to start bending metal again? Or are the next Elon Musks going to come up with these great ideas, these great projects, these innovations, but do the manufacturing elsewhere and find that that's more efficient than, even with reasonable tariffs applied? Do we still have the skills and the mindset to do the metal bending here in the United States? That's number one. And number two, is there any indication that she would like to have anything like Taylor Swift in China, the cultural figures who have this sort of independence of mind and voice that is simply not allowed in Xi China? Wouldn't he be more satisfied just to have that aspect the way it is?
Well, Gina, those are two very legitimate questions. On the first, I would simply say, after the Russians launched their Sputnik satellite in 1957, we had a similar wake-up moment, and we did make a massive investment in industrial manufacturing. As I noted in the piece, I don't know if Donald Trump knows, but in China, his nickname on social media is Comrade Nation Builder. He's been their Sputnik. He woke them up that they better not only make more stuff, but make more stuff that doesn't depend on the United States. Okay, that's number one. On your point on Taylor Swift and creativity in China and allowing in those things, Gene, you're absolutely right. That's not the inclination or direction of the Chinese leader right now. And although, like, her record when it was released to streaming there was wildly popular, and there is some talk about her giving concerts there. But I tell you, they will have real problems if they don't. Their young people feel choked. The organizations that track rise of demonstrations in China have tracked a real substantial uptick lately, and you can't keep people choked that way in the 21st century. So this is a key moment. You can love China, you can hate China, and many days I do both. But this is a serious country when it comes to making stuff. And while we busied ourselves basically manufacturing polarization and commenting on politics, they have taken a great leap forward and really focused on manufacturing. And we got to get focused. And again, it goes back to your previous segment. Look at some of the people we're appointing to key positions. in science, in technology in this country. We're just not serious. And Trump will find them. They are not. They want a deal. They don't want to fight here for sure. But they won't be pushovers. They are a different country than Donald Trump dealt with 8 years ago.
Tom, I'm curious. As you look at, I get that tariffs provide space for a pause to allow us to try to catch up. What's a little bit different now is we've got supply chain issues that are global. And then we also have a real dependency of American agriculture on exports. What happens in the interim? What happens to the economies, the economy here in our country, if we get into a tariff war that, yes, gives us a pause, but what kind of damage is done during that interim to our overall economy?
Well, again, I'm talking about a negotiated tariff transition, not a war. If we get into a war, China has real resources, Claire, for the reasons you've just suggested. We basically buy 4 things from them for every 1 thing they buy from us, and most of that 1 thing now is soybeans and other agricultural products. Imagine you're a rural farmer today, and you're facing. You're being told that we're cutting off immigration, so you're going to lose a lot of your labor, and you're going to have to pay more for labor. And China is going to buy fewer agricultural goods from us. So China has real resources there, and on the manufacturing side, there's real levers there on the manufacturing side as well. So I want to do everything I can to avoid a trade war. Let me just step back for a second and put this into a larger context, at least the way I see it. I think, President Trump invited President Xi to his inauguration, and people laughed, and it was funny, and it was obviously meant more tongue-in-cheek than anything else. I don't think it was actually a bad idea. We need to sit down with China for a deep dialogue, because while we're engaging in a tariff war with each other, the world is actually on the cusp of 3 civilizational threatening events: artificial general intelligence, climate change, and spreading disorder. What do I mean by spreading disorder? Look at Israel today and the countries around it: Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Iraq, Yemen, Sudan, Somalia, Eritrea. They're all disintegrating. Okay? Spreading disorder is going to be a huge problem in the next, I would argue, administration. The United States and China are the AI superpowers. They're the climate superpowers, and they're going to be the disorder preventing superpowers. And we need to sit down and have a serious discussion with them about these issues. By the way, they need to be serious with us too. I have huge numbers of complaints with them and how they approach this. But we have a big agenda going forward. And if we obscure that agenda by getting into a tit-for-tat war over toys and soybeans, shame on us, both of us.
So, Tom, while we have you, you mentioned the Middle East. Let's dive in a little further into that region, a region you know so well. Senior U.S. officials are in the Syrian capital of Damascus for the first diplomatic mission there since the fall of dictator Bashar al-Assad earlier this month. The State Department says that the delegation, led by a senior State Department official for the Middle East, Barbara Leaf, is expected to meet with members of the rebel group, HTS, which has taken over as the de facto government. They'll also meet with members of civil society and some activists. A department spokesperson says discussions are expected to focus on the transition to an inclusive Syrian government, along with the hope to uncover information about the fate of Austin Tice and other American citizens who disappeared under the Assad regime. The Defense Department said yesterday that the U.S. has doubled the number of American troops in the region, bringing the number to roughly 2,000. The Pentagon press secretary says the troops are on the ground supporting the mission against ISIS, working to prevent it from regrouping. So, Tom, would love to get your thoughts about the situation in Syria, whether or not you think this new rebel group, which is sort of the de facto government right now, can be trusted. And what are your hopes and fears there if after the Assad regime ends and suddenly there's a vacuum? What are your hopes and fears about what fills it?
Well, let me just start at 30,000 feet, John. I've been covering the Middle East all my life. I'm 71. This is one of the most important moments in modern Middle East history. And I'm glad the Blinken team is in Damascus right now, engaging with the Syrian rebels and other civil society forces there. Why is that? Okay, Syria is the keystone of the entire Levant, of the Eastern Mediterranean. It really holds the whole thing together. And as I wrote a few weeks ago, some countries in the Middle East implode when the internal order collapses. Others explode. Syria explodes. Okay, Afghanistan imploded. Syria explodes. It means all the shards go all over the region. So what happens in Syria will not stay in Syria. That's number one. Number two is what is happening in Syria today is something we dreamed about, basically, going back to the Iraq War, okay, or at least I dreamed about, right, which is that if you could create in a keystone country like Syria, consensual government that brings Sunnis, Shiites, Kurds, Druze, Christians, all together into a consensual government that is not governed by an iron fist from the top down, but consensually emerges from the bottom up. That radiates out across the region. I was hoping that's what Iraq would do. It did not do it because we did it from the top down. I don't need to refight that battle right now. But it's happening in Syria authentically. Now, why do we need to be there right now? It's because the forces that toppled Assad were basically Islamist, they're called Salafist, fundamentalist forces. They came out of Idlib in northern Syria. They were split off from al-Qaeda. They're not as bad as al-Qaeda. I'd put them more of the sort of Taliban variety. If you looked at how they governed their towns in northern Syria, a lot of times women were completely covered. But they're not the worst of the worst. And they understand that Syria is a mosaic and that they need to have a balance between their sort of Islamist view and a more modern view. Now, Assad drove about 13 million people out of the country. Many of those people are now coming back. They are secular, they are modern, they are women, they are Christians, they're modern Sunnis, and they come with a very much more Western liberal vision of the future. We have to find a way, Syria has to find a way, to find a new balance between the sort of Muslim fundamentalist point of view, albeit a relatively moderate one given the spectrum, and this new modern, secular, democratic, pluralistic point of view. It's going to be hard, but the fact that we are in there right now is so important. It is so important. When Marco Rubio, when he becomes Secretary of State, he better understand this issue, Syria, how we manage this, how he manages will be one of the prime things that he is judged on, he and Trump, and that they have the opportunity of a lifetime. And you have to understand, if Syria succeeds, it will produce enormous hostility around it, because who doesn't want Syria to succeed? It was the same people who didn't want Iraq to succeed, the other autocrats in the region. And so this will not be an easy fight. But this is the fight of our time. It is the most important thing to happen in the Middle East in 4 decades, and I wish them well.
Well, Tom, it's great to talk to you and ask you to go to the widening of your mind, because so much goes on in your mind in 2 pieces a week. Let me ask you about something you wrote months ago. You said that Joe Biden was successful in uniting Europe, but not so successful in uniting the United States.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back in my head, turn the.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's you know, we Chris, I would say, you know, Biden was successful in building a unified coalition in Europe, you know, against Putin and his invasion of Russia. I think that's what I was talking about. But, you know, it goes, Chris, to something you said earlier or alluded to. I'm of the view that we are actually not divided as a country, but we are being divided. We are being divided for profit by social networks, gazillionaires like Elon Musk, the dark side of Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg, and the TikTok people. They have created a business model that depends on making us angry at each other. And shame on them, because I don't think the country is anywhere nearly as divided as we are being divided. At the same time, this is happening in our politics as well. That's how you get ahead now. You know, some of these knuckleheads you see in Congress right now. So this is such a serious moment we're at. We're at the birth of, we have become godlike as a species more than ever in human history. We just created an artificial brain greater than we evolved with. That's actually godlike. We are the first of our species to actually change the climate, to drive ourselves from one climate epoch, the Holocene, into another, the Anthropocene. And through globalization and technology and interconnection, we can now hear each other whisper. We are godlike in 3 different realms, but without the 10 Commandments. And when humans become godlike this way without the 10 Commandments, these issues of leadership, of morality, of decency, of building consensual politics become more important than ever. And that's whatever Donald Trump thinks he will be judged by, that's what history will judge him on.
Foreign affairs columnist for the New York Times, Thomas Friedman. Tom, always a pleasure to have you with us. His new piece, How Elon Musk and Taylor Swift Can Resolve U.S.-China Relations, is online now. Thank you again. Chris Matthews, thank you as well. Good to talk to you. Happy holidays. Up next here, we'll take a look at the stories making the front pages of papers across the country, including another issue in the skies over New Jersey. Morning Joe, we'll be right back with that.
What if your toothbrush could do the flossing for you? Waterpik Sonic Fusion lets you brush and floss with the touch of a button. Sonic Fusion transforms the power of water with precision pulse technology, proven to deliver an effective combination of water pressure and pulsations, removing up to 99.9% of plaque bacteria. When combined, it's up to 2 times as effective for improving gum health. Now there's no excuse not to floss. Take control of your oral health with Waterpik Sonic Fusion.
The virus that causes shingles is sleeping in 99% of people over 50. It's lying dormant, waiting, and could reactivate. Shingles strikes as a painful, blistering rash that can last for weeks, and it could wake at any time. Think you are not at risk for shingles? It's time to wake up, because shingles could wake up in you. If you're over 50, talk to your doctor or pharmacist about shingles prevention.
This week on Chewy, shop and get a $30 e-gift card to use on treats they want, toys they love, or food they devour. At prices everyone feels jolly about. For low prices, for holidays with pets, there's Chewy.
The UPS store knows you want that special something to be there when you can.
She sent candles.
We'll make sure of it. We're the pack it, ship it, guarantee it store. The helping you give the gifts they'll love store. We're here to make the holidays happy. We're the one-stop, right around the corner, the unstoppable, every way you holiday store. Visit the upsstore.com/packing and get 20% off packing today.
Maybe I'm foolish, maybe I'm blind, thinking I can see through this and see what's behind. But I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't you think? Oh, some people got the real problem. Some people out of love.
If you have wet AMD, you never want to lose sight of the things you love. Some things should stand the test of time. Long-lasting EYLEA HD could significantly improve your vision. More people on EYLEA HD had no fluid in the retina compared to those on EYLEA at 4 months. EYLEA HD is the only wet AMD therapy that helped 8 out of 10 people go up to 4 months between injections after 3 initial monthly treatments. If you have an eye infection, eye pain or redness, or allergies to EYLEA HD, don't use. Eye injections like EYLEA HD may cause eye infection, separation of the retina, or rare but severe swelling of blood vessels in the eye. An increase in eye pressure has been seen. There is an uncommon risk of heart attack or stroke associated with blood clots. The most common side effects were blurred vision, cataract, corneal injury, and eye floaters. And there's still so much to see. If you are on EYLEA or a similar type of treatment, ask your retina specialist about EYLEA HD today for the potential for fewer injections.
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance, so I saved hundreds. But the money I saved, thought I'd get a wax figure myself. Oh, right in the temporal lobe. Beat it, punks! Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
It's a hard conversation to have. When you die, this is what's going to happen.
All right, like the digs.
My perception of estate planning was lawyers and questions that I wouldn't know answers to.
Having a trust, having a will, make sure that those things and those people are taken care of. Trust and will makes it really easy and succinct for people to go out there, create their estate plan.
Having a plan in place, it was a huge relief.
Create your estate plan at trustandwill.com. Your loved ones are getting older, and they need your support. Care.com is here to help. It's an easy way to find background-checked senior caregivers in your area and some peace of mind. See why millions of families have trusted Care. Go to care.com now.
Precise designs, subtle curves, curated upgrades, elevated design for thoughtful living. Thuma.
A live look there at Reagan National Airport, Washington, D.C. There will be a lot of holiday travelers in the days ahead. We're now just 5 days from both Christmas and Hanukkah. It's time now for a look at the morning papers. We begin in New Jersey, where the Record reports on the spike of people pointing lasers at airplanes flying overhead. FAA officials say the recent wave of drone sightings along the East Coast
Hypocrisy here is so huge. This is a man who talked constantly about the freedom of speech and how he is against censorship. And you look at Elon Musk, he pretends that he is all about freedom of speech and against censorship. All of our freedoms flow through the freedom of speech and the First Amendment that allows a free press in the United States. Everything we know depends on a free press. And this notion that going after the Des Moines Register because of a bad poll is really corrosive to that freedom. And I would implore not just Donald Trump and his minions of kind of wannabe lawyers to lay off, but I also would implore the C-suites of corporations that own these media outlets. Don't act like you're for free speech and then fold. Don't act like that you are somehow bringing important information to the world and then fold. This is a fight worth making. And I guarantee you this, if Ann Seltzer needs legal fees, she can raise them, because there'll be plenty of people in America that would want to contribute to make sure she has the best lawyers to stand up to this bully.
Yeah, an important point there. Claire, thank you. Have a good weekend. We appreciate it. Still ahead here
Merry
on...
Christmas.
Thank you. You the same, Claire. Still ahead here on Morning Joe, we'll turn back to the looming government shutdown as Congress has until midnight tonight to pass a spending bill. We'll get a live report from Capitol Hill. Morning Joe will be right back.
This is the sound of the season's favorite gift. For a limited time, Omaha Steaks is offering the favorite gift package that includes our famous bacon-wrapped filet mignon, our butcher's cut top sirloins, our delicious air-chilled chicken breast, burgers, franks, sides, and desserts, all for just $89.99. That's 60% off. Order now to include 4 more burgers free, and we'll deliver in time for Christmas. This exclusive offer ends soon and quantities are limited. Don't miss out. Order today at omahasteaks.com/TV.
I love this.
Customize and save with Liberty Mutual. Customize and save!
And then I wake up.
Is Limu with you in all your dreams?
Oh, yeah. Only pay for what...
We went with savings.
Okay, everyone. Our mission is to provide complete balanced nutrition for strength and energy.
Ensure with 27 vitamins and minerals, nutrients for immune health, and Ensure Complete with 30 grams of protein.
Sometimes you just need a moment. Self-care has never been this easy. Gummy vitamins from Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
Maybe I'm foolish, maybe I'm blind, thinking I can see through this and see what's behind. But I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't you think? Oh, some people got the real problem. Some people out of love.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a transparent fee structured so we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Bent finger appointment in 30 minutes.
You got this.
1, remember, I don't want surgery for my Dupuytren's contracture. 2, I don't want to wait for my contracture to get worse. 3, I want a treatment with minimal downtime. 4, I want a non-surgical treatment. And 5,
And if non-surgical treatment isn't offered?
I'll get a second opinion. Let's go.
Take charge of your treatment. If you can't lay your hand flat, visit findahandspecialist.com to get started.
Trying on glasses using Warby Parker's virtual try-on is so lifelike, so realistic, that you might not even be able to tell what's real from what's virtual. Yep, it's that good. Virtually try on hundreds of styles at warbyparker.com.
Precise designs, subtle curves, curated upgrades, elevated design for thoughtful living. Thuma.
My hair was thinning all around my hairline.
My dermatologist recommended Nutrafol. It's 100% drug-free and clinically tested.
My hair is longer, thicker.
Nutrafol is life-changing for me.
Get growing at Nutrafol.com.
Before the next commercial, find out if you're overpaying for car insurance. FinanceBuzz.com compares the rates of over 90 carriers, from emus, geckos, and ladies in lab coats, to see who gives you the best price. Go to FinanceBuzz.com.
It's embarrassing. It's shameful. Yes, I think this bill is better than it was yesterday on certain respects, but to take this bill yesterday and congratulate yourself because it's shorter in pages but increases the debt by $5 trillion is asinine. And that's precisely what Republicans are doing. I am absolutely sickened by a party that campaigns on fiscal responsibility and has the temerity to go forward to the American people and say, you think this is fiscally responsible. It is absolutely ridiculous.
Republican Congressman Chip Roy of Texas, a consistent critic of spending bills, calling out his own party yesterday. His rant highlights this self-made crisis for the Republican Party. Get ready. They had a bipartisan bill that would have passed this week, but then Donald Trump and Elon Musk killed it. Then yesterday, they hastily put together a Trump-backed package, only for it to be rejected by dozens of Republicans and almost all Democrats who were not going to give in to Trump or Musk's demands. To top things off, Elon Musk may get rewarded for all of this, as some Republicans are now floating him as the next Speaker of the House. Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe. It's Friday, December 20th. I'm Jonathan Lemire in for Joe Mika